On today's Land Beat, we're going to be talking about tips, tricks, and all things turkey calls so you can have more success this spring. I want to talk about the different layers of turkey calls and the volumes that we use those calls. So for me personally, growing up in the Ozark Mountains, I take a lot of pride in having success over the years and using various turkey calls to bring them into range. One of my all-time favorites is a box call, but I also love a good screamer slate call. The one thing I want to define different in the way I use these calls is the volume that I'm trying to put out with these calls. So with a slate call or a box call, I try to get really loud if I'm trying to locate turkeys. It's mid-morning, it's midday. If you're in a state that you can hunt in the afternoon, for me in Missouri, I can't. We always close at 1. But if you're in a state where you're just doing a little prospecting or going out on the landscape trying to locate a lone tom, get one gobbling, I'm trying to get loud. And so whether that be a slate or a box, I'm going to let it rip. I prefer a really high-pitched call. Highball rasp, as we call it. It's got a little rasp, but it's got a very high volume. Try to make those turkeys either shock gobble or hear it off in the distance and gobble at it. But I can use this same call and try to lower the volume and use it as I've located a bird, he's heard me, he's gobbled, he's starting to come. I can tone it down and still use the same call, but I'll use it differently. Just like that. Now, as it gets a little closer, let's say I'm starting to feel like I'm going to see this bird at any point. He may be already spotted and he's 100 yards out and I'm on the gun. That's when I shift into a mouth call. And so I go from high pitch with a slate or a box call down to a little bit lower pitch, slate or box call, or even a higher volume mouth call. And then as the bird closes the distance, I'm going to shift into a mouth call and try to close it up. So when it comes to locating with a box call, I love to throw in a lot of cuts. I want to sound like a very excited hen. So I'll do yelps, cuts, and just try to get very excited and make them gobble. Obviously, if the bird is closing in, I'm trying not to get really excited on this because I don't want to blast him with the call and have him push away because I got too loud with him. But if I'm trying to call let's just say I've found a bird, he's gobbling, I've tried to shift over to some other calls that don't require as much motion as the box call would, and he's not gobbling at the other calls. He seems to really like the box call. Now I'm trying to tone the box call down to coax him in. So I've done the excited cutting and yelping. Now I'm going to go into more of a mid-range call. This is when I start to loosen up my grip. I don't grip the paddle as tight. I don't grip the actual box as tight. And I'm trying to get more rasp rather than volume. So if he once again doesn't gobble at that, I'm going to try to give him a little bit of the same familiar sound that he liked before. And then also loosen my grip back up to kind of start that transition into the volume that he likes and bring him back into range. So with all the different volumes that we've used, from a friction, be it a box call or a slate call, you also have the mouth call, probably one of the most popular calls out there. And this is to say that you can, or this is not to say that you can't kill a bird if you don't have all of these types of calls. Many guys just use mouth calls or just use slate calls, but I like to carry one of everything. That way I have the ability to sound like a whole flock of hens if I want to, or various weather conditions. I can't use my friction as much, so I need to rely on a mouth call. The thing about mouth calls is you can't get as loud as you could on a box call. You can't get as loud as a screaming pot call like I just showed you. You can get pretty loud, And I can show you different ways to do that, but ultimately I like this for mid-range or close range calling of a turkey. I'm going to start out with kind of the mid-range and then how I use it, and then I'll go down to the softer range. Now the turkey's coming in a little closer. Let's say I've got my eyes on him. I'm trying to convince him that I'm trying not to give away my position, convince him I'm maybe a little back further behind me so he continues to work through the setup. So a little bit softer. So we're covering all the ranges here. We go from really loud box call, ear-piercing box call or slate call, down to mid-range. Mid-range is where you can use all the calls I listed out, down to soft range where we're going to try to rely more on mouth calls or slate-topped friction calls to get a little quieter. And there's even a few other calls I'll pinpoint out in those close range calling to try to coax it turkey into the final yardage we need to have a successful kill.